There's a moment that changes everything. A moment where the person you thought you knew, the person you built your entire future with, looks you in the eyes and tells you a truth so devastating that it shatters every memory you thought was real. For me, that moment came at 8 months pregnant. When my husband, the man who'd held my hand through 2 miscarriages, who'd cried tears of joy when we finally saw that positive test, who'd helped me paint the nursery and assemble the crib, looked at me with my swollen belly between us and said 5 words that destroyed my world. I never wanted this baby. And then he left. Not in a few weeks. Not after some cooling off period. He packed a bag that same night and walked out the door, leaving me 8 months pregnant, terrified, and wondering if anything in our 6-year relationship had ever been real. This is my story. It's about loving someone who lied to you every single day. About discovering that the man who promised you forever had an expiration date in mind all along. About giving birth alone, raising a child alone, and somehow finding the strength to rebuild when you thought you had nothing left. If you've ever been abandoned when you needed someone most, if you've ever questioned your own judgment, if you've ever had to become stronger than you ever thought possible, this story is for you. Stay with me. The way I survived, the truths I uncovered, the life I built from the ashes, that's the part they never tell you about. The part where you don't just survive. You become someone entirely new. Someone stronger, braver, more whole than you ever were with them. Now let me take you back to where it all began. I met Ryan on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were my least favorite day of the week. Not quite the beginning, not quite the end, just stuck in the exhausting middle of everything. But that Tuesday, in a crowded coffee shop where I ducked in to escape an unexpected rainstorm, everything changed. He was sitting by the window, laptop open, completely absorbed in whatever he was working on. His hair was slightly messy from the rain. His shirt had a small coffee stain on the collar that he clearly hadn't noticed, and when he finally looked up and our eyes met, he smiled like he'd been waiting for me his whole life. "Is this seat taken?" I asked, even though there were other seats available. Something just pulled me toward him. "It is now," he said. And that smile made me feel like the only person in the world. We talked for 4 hours. The rain stopped and started again twice. My coffee went cold. His laptop went to sleep. And we just talked. About everything. About his job as a graphic designer and my work as a pediatric nurse. About his terrible childhood in foster care, and my overly involved but loving family. About books and movies and the strange comfort of rainy days. About dreams and fears and all the small silly things that make up a life. "I want to travel," I told him. "See every continent before I'm 40. Maybe volunteer in different countries. Do something that matters. I want to create something lasting," he said. "Build a business from scratch. Leave a mark on the world, you know? Prove that where I came from doesn't define where I'm going." We didn't talk about kids that day. Or marriage. Or forever. We just talked about who we were in that moment. And it felt like enough. He asked for my number as I was leaving. Sent me a text before I even made it home. That was the best Tuesday of my life. I fell asleep that night replaying every moment, every word, every smile. And somewhere in the back of my mind a small voice whispered, "This could be something." I had no idea how right, and how devastatingly wrong that voice would be. The first year with Ryan was magic. Not the fake social media perfect kind of magic. The real kind. The kind where you laugh at inside jokes no one else understands and where silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. He'd show up at the hospital after my shift with takeout from my favorite Thai place, the one 30 minutes out of his way. I'd surprise him at his studio with coffee and donuts when he was working late on a project. We'd spend entire Sundays in bed, talking and laughing and planning imaginary trips to places we couldn't yet afford. "Where should we go first?" I'd ask, tracing patterns on his chest. "Japan," he'd say without hesitation. "Cherry blossoms in spring. Then Iceland for the northern lights. Then everywhere." I'd finish, and he'd kiss me like I'd said something profound instead of obvious. My friends loved him. My family adored him. My mother, who'd never approved of anyone I dated, pulled me aside at Thanksgiving and whispered, "Don't let this one get away." I didn't plan to. We moved in together after 18 months. A small apartment in a neighborhood we couldn't quite afford, with creaky floors and a shower that only worked at certain angles. But it was ours. We painted the walls together, argued about furniture placement, learned each other's rhythms and routines. I learned that he woke up grumpy and needed 20 minutes and coffee before conversation. He learned that I stress cleaned and needed to talk through problems out loud, even when there wasn't a solution. We learned to navigate each other's damage. His abandonment issues from foster care made him panic when I went out with friends. He'd need reassurance that I was coming back. My anxiety about being a burden made me apologize for everything. He'd have to remind me I didn't need to earn my place in his life. "You're not too much," he'd tell me when I spiraled. "You're exactly right. I'm not going anywhere," I'd tell him when his past crept in. "You're stuck with me." We felt like a team, like two broken pieces that somehow fit together perfectly. 3 years he proposed. Nothing fancy, just the two of us on our apartment balcony, eating cheap wine and cheaper pizza, when he suddenly got down on one knee with a ring he'd clearly been hiding in his pocket all night. "I know I'm not perfect," he said, his voice shaking. "I know I've got issues and baggage and 1,000 things I'm still working through. But I also know that every day with you is better than any day without you. And I want every day for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he finished asking. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a botanical garden. 50 people. Handwritten vows. My little sister as maid of honor. His best friend from college as best man. Wildflowers instead of roses because they felt more real. When I walked down the aisle, Ryan was crying. Not just tearing up, actually crying. And when I reached him, he whispered, "I can't believe you're real. I can't believe you chose me." "Always," I whispered back. We honeymooned in a cabin in the mountains. No Wi-Fi, no cell service, just us in the woods and a week of pretending the rest of the world didn't exist. On our last night there, lying on the porch under more stars than I'd ever seen, I brought it up for the first time. "Do you ever think about kids?" I asked, my head on his chest. He was quiet for a moment, long enough that I wondered if he'd heard me. "Yeah," he finally said. "I think about it sometimes." "Why?" "I don't know. I work with kids all day and I wonder what it would be like to have our own. We've got time to figure that out," he said, kissing the top of my head. "No rush, right?" "Right. No rush." But even then, even in that perfect moment, something felt slightly off. Like a note played almost but not quite in key. A hesitation I couldn't name. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself he just needed time to warm up to the idea. I told myself that people who'd grown up in foster care often struggled with the concept of parenthood, that it was normal for him to need more processing time. I told myself a lot of things. None of them were true. The conversation about kids came up again a year into our marriage. I was 29. Ryan was 31. We'd been trying to save money, build our careers, travel a little. But something in me was starting to shift. That biological clock everyone jokes about wasn't ticking, it was screaming. Every baby I saw at work made my chest ache. Every pregnancy announcement from friends made me feel left behind. Every holiday gathering where my mother would ask, "So when are you two going to make me a grandmother?" made me feel like I was failing at something I hadn't even started yet. I brought it up over dinner on a random Wednesday. "I've been thinking," I said, pushing pasta around my plate. "Maybe we should start trying. For a baby." Ryan's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. "Now?" "Well, not this exact second," I laughed, trying to keep it light. "But soon. We're both established in our careers. We're financially stable. We have space. We have a 1-bedroom apartment, Emma. We could get a bigger place. With what money? We're barely saving anything as it is. Couples figure it out. We would figure it out." He set his fork down. "I don't know if I'm ready." The words hit harder than they should have. "You don't know?" "Ryan, we've been together almost 5 years. We've been married over a year. When will you know?" "I don't know," he repeated, and there was an edge to his voice now. "Why do we have to decide this right now?" "Because I'm 29. Because I don't want to wait until it's too late. Because every time I bring this up, you shut down." "I'm not shutting down. I'm saying I need more time." "How much more time?" "I don't know." He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "Why is that not an acceptable answer? Why do I have to have everything figured out on your timeline?" I felt tears burning behind my eyes. "This isn't about a timeline. This is about wanting to build a family with you. About wanting to create something together. I thought that's what marriage was. Marriage is us. You and me. Why isn't that enough?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Why isn't that enough? Because I wanted more. Because I'd always pictured myself as a mother. Because every time I held a newborn at work, I felt something fundamental shift inside me. A longing so deep it was almost painful. But looking at Ryan's face, the panic barely hidden behind frustration, I swallowed those words. It is enough, I lied. I'm sorry. You're right. We don't have to decide anything right now. He relaxed immediately, came over and hugged me. Thank you. I just need more time to wrap my head around it. That's all. It's a big change. I know. I love you. I love you too. But that night, lying next to him in bed, I couldn't sleep. Because somewhere deep down I knew he wasn't asking for more time. He was stalling. 6 months later I brought it up again. And again he needed more time. 6 months after that, same conversation, same answer. My 30th birthday came and went. Then 31. Then 32. Each time I brought up having kids, Ryan had a reason why it wasn't the right time. We should wait until I get the promotion. Let's wait until we've traveled more. Let's wait until we've bought a house. Let's wait until we're more financially secure. Always waiting. Always one more milestone that needed to be reached first. My friends started having babies. First one, then another. Then suddenly it seemed like everyone I knew was pushing a stroller or posting ultrasound pictures. I smiled through baby showers, bought adorable onesies, cooed over newborns, and felt something inside me wither a little more each time. You guys next? They'd ask cheerfully. We're working on it, I'd lie. Because how do you tell people that your husband keeps finding reasons to say no? That every time you bring it up, he looks at you like you're asking him to jump off a cliff? 33, I stopped asking permission. I'm going off birth control, I told Ryan one morning. He looked up from his coffee. What? I'm 33 years old. We've been together for 7 years, married for 4. I've waited long enough. I'm going off birth control, and if it happens, it happens. Emma, that's not fair. What's not fair is that I've put my life on hold for years waiting for you to be ready. What's not fair is that every woman in my family has struggled with fertility, and I'm running out of time. What's not fair is that you married me knowing I wanted children, and now you're acting like it's some huge surprise. I never said I didn't want kids. You've never said you do. Every time I bring it up, you have another excuse. Another reason to wait. Well, I'm done waiting. He was quiet for a long moment. Then softly, Okay. If this is important to you, then okay. Let's try. I should have been happy. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like I just won a battle I shouldn't have had to fight. But I pushed that feeling down. Told myself it was fine. That once we actually had a baby, he'd fall in love with being a father. That his hesitation would disappear once he held our child in his arms. I told myself a lot of things. Again, it took 8 months to get pregnant the first time. 8 months of carefully tracked cycles, ovulation tests, temperature charts. 8 months of hope and disappointment, of trying to make baby making feel spontaneous when it was anything but. When I finally saw those 2 pink lines, I cried for 20 minutes straight. I told Ryan that night over dinner. I'd bought a tiny pair of baby shoes and put them on his plate. He stared at them for what felt like forever. Are you? I'm pregnant, I whispered. He looked up at me, and I searched his face desperately for joy, for excitement, for anything that looked like happiness. What I saw was fear. But then he smiled, came around the table and hugged me. That's amazing, Em. Really. I'm just surprised. Wow. Are you happy? Of course I'm happy. This is what you wanted, right? What I wanted. Not what we wanted. But I ignored it. Because I was pregnant. Because we were going to have a baby. Because everything was going to be okay. It wasn't. I lost the baby at 9 weeks. Started bleeding at work. Right in the middle of checking a little boy's ears for infection. Had to excuse myself, call Ryan in a panic, drive myself to the emergency room because he was in a meeting he couldn't miss. The ultrasound tech's face told me everything before she said the words. I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat. The D&C was scheduled for 2 days later. Ryan came to the appointment, held my hand, said the right things. But the whole time I could feel his relief. He never said it. Never even hinted at it. But I knew. He was relieved. I got pregnant again 6 months later. This time I didn't tell Ryan right away. I waited until I was 12 weeks. Until I was past the danger zone. Until I'd heard the heartbeat strong and steady. Proof that this time was different. I told him on a Saturday morning, showing him the ultrasound pictures. We're pregnant again. 12 weeks. Everything looks good. Again that too long pause. That flash of something I didn't want to name. That's great, baby. Really great. Ryan, are you sure you're okay with this? Of course. Why wouldn't I be? I don't know. You just seem, I don't know, distant. I'm just worried. After what happened last time, I don't want you to go through that again. It was a good answer. A caring answer. The kind of answer a loving husband would give. So why didn't I believe him? We made it to 16 weeks. I was just starting to relax. Just starting to let myself believe this was really happening. I'd bought my first maternity shirt. We'd started looking at cribs online, though Ryan always found reasons not to actually buy anything. Let's wait a little longer, just to be sure. And then one night I woke up to cramping, went to the bathroom and saw blood. More blood than last time. Ryan drove me to the hospital at 2 in the morning, held my hand while the doctor did the exam, while they confirmed what I already knew. I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat. The second loss was worse than the first, because I'd let myself hope. I'd let myself imagine the future, nursery colors, baby names, first steps, first words. I'd let myself believe this time was different. I was wrong. After the second miscarriage I fell apart. Not immediately. Not dramatically. Just slowly, quietly, like a building collapsing in slow motion. I took a week off work. Couldn't bear to see the babies in the NICU. Couldn't handle the new mothers with their joy and relief and complete lack of understanding about how fragile it all was. Ryan tried to be supportive. He'd bring me tea. Ask if I needed anything. Tell me it wasn't my fault. But he didn't cry. He didn't rage. He didn't seem devastated. He seemed fine. Maybe we should take a break from trying, he suggested gently, a month after the loss. Give your body time to heal. Give us time to process. I don't want a break. I want a baby. I know. But Emma, this has been really hard on you. On us. Maybe we should just pause. For how long? I don't know. A few months? A year? I'm 34 years old, Ryan. I don't have a year. You're being dramatic. I've had 2 miscarriages. My body is giving out on me and you want me to wait? Why? So you can have more time to come up with reasons why we shouldn't do this. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Because from where I'm sitting it feels like you're relieved. Like some part of you is glad this happened. The look on his face told me I'd hit too close to home. That's a horrible thing to say, he said quietly. Then tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you want this baby as much as I do. Tell me you're not secretly hoping I'll just give up. Silence. Ryan, tell me I'm wrong. I think you need to talk to someone. A therapist. Because this isn't healthy. And that's how I knew. He couldn't deny it. Couldn't look me in the eye and tell me I was wrong. 'Cause I wasn't. I got pregnant a third time 4 months later. This time I didn't tell Ryan for 8 weeks. I saw the positive test, made a doctor's appointment, confirmed the pregnancy, heard the heartbeat, all without saying a word to him. I was protecting myself. Protecting this tiny spark of life inside me from his indifference, his fear, his secret relief every time things went wrong. But I was also protecting him from knowing the truth. I was going to have this baby whether he wanted it or not. When I finally told him at 10 weeks, he didn't ask why I'd waited. Didn't question the late disclosure. Just nodded and said, okay, let's be cautious. I'm going to be cautious, but I'm also going to be hopeful. Of course. The first trimester was lonely. I went to appointments alone. Ryan always had work. Always had meetings. Always had something more important than seeing our baby's tiny heartbeat on a screen. I'll come to the next one, he'd promise. He never did. I joined an online support group for women who'd had recurrent pregnancy loss. Found community with strangers who understood my fear every time I went to the bathroom. Every time I felt a cramp. Every time a day passed without obvious symptoms. Is your husband supportive? One woman asked in the forum. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on. He's trying. But the truth was he wasn't. He was existing next to my pregnancy, not participating in it. He'd ask how I was feeling with the enthusiasm of someone asking about the weather. He never touched my growing belly. Never talked to the baby. Never seemed excited about any of it. Everyone processes differently, my therapist said. Some men don't connect until the baby is actually here. I wanted to believe that. Desperately wanted to believe that once he held our child, everything would change. At 20 weeks, we found out we were having a girl. A girl, the ultrasound tech said, smiling. Congratulations. I looked at Ryan. He was staring at the screen with an expression I couldn't read. A daughter, I whispered, reaching for his hand. He took it, squeezed once. But his palm was sweaty and his grip was weak, and when we left the appointment, he was quiet for the entire drive home. That night I tried to engage him. We should start thinking about names. I always loved the name Sophie. Or maybe Emma after my grandmother. Sure. Whatever you want. Ryan, this is your daughter too. Don't you have opinions? I trust your judgment. But don't you want to be part of this? Don't you want to help decide? He sighed. The kind of sigh that meant he was tired of this conversation, tired of me pushing, tired of having to pretend to care. Emma, I said, whatever you want is fine. Can we just leave it at that? I felt something inside me go very cold. You really don't want this baby, do you? I never said that. You don't have to. It's written all over your face every time I bring her up. You're miserable. I'm not miserable. I'm just adjusting. It's been 20 weeks, Ryan. At what point do you actually adjust? Why are you attacking me? I'm here, aren't I? I'm not going anywhere. Yet I thought, you're not going anywhere yet. But I didn't say it. Because I was 20 weeks pregnant and terrified and I needed him to stay. Even if staying meant just physically existing in the same space while emotionally being 1,000 miles away. At 6 months, my body finally started to look undeniably pregnant. I loved it. Loved the curve of my belly, the way strangers smiled at me in grocery stores, the tiny kicks and flutters that reminded me this was real. After 2 losses, every day I stayed pregnant felt like a miracle. Ryan seemed to hate it. He stopped touching me, stopped initiating any physical contact. Would kiss me goodbye in the morning with the affection of someone kissing a distant relative at a funeral. At night, he'd turn away from me in bed, putting as much space between us as possible without actually moving to another room. Ryan, talk to me. What's going on? Nothing's going on. I'm just tired. You're always tired. You're always working late. You're never here. I'm trying to provide for us. For the baby. Isn't that what you want? I want my husband. I want the man I married. I want you to care about this baby we're about to have. I do care. Then show me. Please. Give me something. Anything. He looked at me then. Really looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes made my blood run cold. It wasn't anger. It wasn't frustration. It was resentment. Pure, undisguised resentment. I'm doing my best, he said flatly. If that's not good enough, I don't know what else you want from me. And then he left, grabbed his keys and walked out, leaving me standing in our living room, 6 months pregnant, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. He came back 3 hours later. Didn't explain where he'd been. Just came to bed and turned his back to me. I lay awake all night, hand on my belly, feeling our daughter move, and wondered what the hell I was going to do. 7 months pregnant and I couldn't tie my own shoes. It's funny what you remember about the worst moments of your life. Not the big things, those get blurry, trauma's way of protecting you. But the small details stay crystal clear. I remember I was wearing the blue maternity dress with white flowers. The one my sister had bought me because it brings out your eyes. I remember Ryan was wearing his gray work shirt, the one with the slightly frayed collar I kept meaning to fix. I remember it was raining. Not pouring, just that steady, depressing drizzle that makes everything look gray. And I remember the way he looked at me when I asked him to help me with my shoes. Like I was an inconvenience. Like my pregnant body was something happening to him instead of something we'd created together. Can you help me real quick? I asked, laughing a little at my own helplessness. I can't reach anymore. He glanced over from where he was putting on his own shoes. For a split second I saw it, that flash of disgust. He covered it quickly, but I saw it. Yeah, sure, he said, his voice flat. He knelt down, tied my shoes with quick, efficient movements. Not gentle. Not loving. Like he was completing a chore he resented having to do. Thank you, I said softly. He stood up without responding. That night I made his favorite dinner. Pot roast with roasted vegetables, the recipe I'd perfected over years of cooking for him. It took me 2 hours standing on swollen feet, my back aching, but I did it because I was desperate. Desperate for him to look at me with something other than resentment. Desperate for him to remember why he'd married me. Desperate for proof that we were going to be okay. He ate in silence, scrolling through his phone. How was work? I asked. Fine. Anything interesting happen? Not really. The nursery is almost done. My mom helped me put up the wall decals today. It looks. That's nice. He wasn't even looking up. Just shoveling food into his mouth while staring at his phone like I wasn't even there. Something in me snapped. Ryan, put down the phone. He looked up surprised. What? Put down the phone and look at me. He set it down slowly, his face guarded. What's wrong? What's wrong? Are you seriously asking me that? Emma, I don't. You haven't touched me in weeks. You barely speak to me. You show zero interest in this baby. You look at me like I'm some kind of burden you're stuck with. So yeah, Ryan, something's wrong. And I need you to tell me what the hell is going on. He was quiet for a long moment. And then, quietly, he said the words I'd been dreading for months. I don't think I can do this. The world stopped. What? This. The baby. All of it. I don't think I can do it. My hands went instinctively to my belly. Protective. What are you saying? I'm saying I never wanted this. I told you I needed time and you pushed anyway. You stopped taking birth control without really discussing it with me. You made this decision and now I'm just stuck. Stuck? Ryan, this is our daughter. She's your daughter. I never wanted her. The words hung in the air like poison. You don't mean that. I do. His voice was getting stronger now, like saying it out loud was freeing him. I never wanted kids. I told you from the beginning I needed time and you just kept pushing. This whole thing has been about what you want. What about what I want? You had years to tell me the truth. Years to say you didn't want children. Instead, you let me believe we were building towards something. You let me go through 2 miscarriages thinking we were in this together. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I thought maybe I'd feel differently eventually. I thought the feelings would come. And they didn't. No, quiet. Final. Devastating. They didn't. I felt like I was going to be sick. So what now? What are you saying? He couldn't meet my eyes. I don't know. I just know I can't keep pretending I'm excited about this when I'm not. I can't keep pretending I want to be a father when the thought of it makes me want to run. Then run. The words came out hard, sharp. If that's how you feel, then go. But don't you dare blame me for this. Don't you dare make me the villain because I wanted to have a family with my husband. That's what marriage is, Ryan. That's what commitment is. You don't just get to bail when things get hard. You think I don't know that? He stood up suddenly, his chair scraping across the floor. You think I don't hate myself for feeling this way? I do. But I can't force feelings that aren't there. And I can't spend the next 18 years pretending. So you're leaving. It wasn't a question. I don't know. I need to think. I need space. I'm 7 months pregnant and you need space. Yes. Unbelievable. He grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair, started walking toward the door. Ryan, if you walk out that door. He stopped, turned, and for just a moment I thought he'd come back. Thought he'd realize what he was doing, what he was throwing away. Instead he said, I'm sorry. I really am. But I can't be what you need me to be. And then he left. I stood there for I don't know how long, my hand on my belly, feeling my daughter kick, and tried to understand how my entire life had just imploded. He came back 2 days later. No explanation. No apology. Just walked in like nothing had happened and started making coffee. Where have you been? My voice was hoarse from crying. At Mike's. His couch. For 2 days you've been at Mike's while I've been here alone, 7 months pregnant, wondering if my husband was ever coming back. I needed to clear my head. And? Is it clear now? Have you decided if you're going to abandon your pregnant wife? He turned to face me. I'm here, aren't I? For how long? Until the baby comes? Until things get harder? When exactly do you plan on leaving for good, Ryan? Because that's what you're doing. You're just doing it in installments. I said I'd try. I came back. You shouldn't have to try to want your own child. You shouldn't have to force yourself to stay with your wife. What do you want from me, Emma? You want me to lie and say I'm excited? That I can't wait to be a dad? I can't. I'm terrified. I'm angry. I feel trapped. And I'm trying really hard to do the right thing here, but you won't even let me. The right thing? The right thing was being honest with me years ago. The right thing was not letting me get pregnant if you knew you didn't want kids. The right thing was not making me fall in love with a future that you never intended to give me. We stood there in our kitchen, 2 people who'd promised forever, and stared at each other like strangers. I'm going to try, he said finally. I'm going to stay and try to be what you need. But I need you to give me space to process this. Fine, I said, because what else could I say? Try. But I knew. Deep down I knew. He wasn't staying because he wanted to. He was staying because he felt obligated. And that was almost worse than if he'd just left. 8 months pregnant. My body was huge, unwieldy, beautiful, and exhausting all at once. The baby, we decided on the name Sophie after all, was active, constantly kicking and shifting. Sometimes I'd watch my belly move and feel overwhelmed with love for this little person I hadn't even met yet. Other times I'd feel overwhelmed with terror because I knew I was going to be doing this alone. Ryan stayed, but he wasn't present. He'd come home from work, eat dinner in silence, then disappear into his home office for hours. He slept on his side of the bed like there was an invisible wall between us. He never touched my belly, never asked how I was feeling, never talked about the baby. It was like living with a ghost of my husband. My mother knew something was wrong. "You seem sad, sweetheart," she said during one of her visits. She'd come over to help me organize baby clothes, to fold tiny onesies and set up the changing table. "Just tired. Pregnancy is exhausting." "It's more than that." She put down the baby blanket she'd been folding and looked at me directly. "Where's Ryan?" "Working." "He's always working." "Emma, honey, talk to me. What's going on?" And I broke. Sitting there in the nursery we painted soft yellow, surrounded by tiny clothes and stuffed animals and all the hope I'd poured into this room, I told her everything. About the years of stalling. About the miscarriages and his barely hidden relief. About the distance that had grown into a chasm. About the night he'd said he never wanted this baby. My mother listened without interrupting, her hand over mine, her eyes filling with tears. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" she finally asked. "I don't know. I can't leave. I'm 8 months pregnant with nowhere to go. And part of me keeps hoping that when Sophie comes, when he holds her, everything will change. That's how it happens, right? People see their baby and they fall in love." My mother's face was sad. "Sometimes. But Emma, you can't count on that. You can't build your future on hoping he'll become someone he's not." "But he's my husband. We made vows. We promised. And he broke those promises the moment he told you he didn't want your child." She squeezed my hand. "Sweetheart, I love you. And I will support whatever decision you make. But I need you to hear this. You deserve better. Your daughter deserves better. You both deserve someone who chooses you, not someone who stays out of obligation." "I'm scared," I whispered. "I know. But you're also strong. Stronger than you think. What if I can't do this alone?" "You're not alone. You have me. Your sister. Your whole family. We will help you. But first you need to decide. Are you going to keep fighting for a marriage with someone who doesn't want to be in it?" I didn't have an answer. That night, Ryan came home at 9. Again. I was sitting in the living room, my feet up because they were so swollen. I could barely walk. I'd made dinner hours ago. Sat cold on the stove. "You're home late," I said. "Had a project deadline." "You always have a project deadline." He sighed. That sigh again. The one that said I was being difficult. "Emma, please. I'm exhausted." "So am I. I'm 8 months pregnant and exhausted and terrified, and you're never here." "I'm here right now." "No, you're not. You're physically present, but you're not here. You haven't been here for months." "What do you want from me?" "I want you to want this baby." The words burst out of me, loud enough that I saw him flinch. "I want you to be excited. I want you to ask me how I'm feeling. I want you to care about what's happening to my body, to our daughter, to our future. I want you to be my partner, not a stranger I'm living with." "I'm trying." "Stop saying that. You're not trying. Trying would mean you're making an effort. Trying would mean you're coming to doctor's appointments and helping set up the nursery and talking about what happens when she comes. You're not doing any of that. You're hiding. You're avoiding. You're waiting for this all to be over so you can go back to your life before I ruined it with this baby you never wanted." He stared at me and I saw it again, that flash of resentment. But this time it didn't disappear. "You're right," he said quietly. My heart stopped. "What?" "You're right. I am waiting for this to be over. 'Cause maybe then we can go back to how things were. When it was just us. When we were happy." "We can't go back, Ryan. We have a daughter coming. In 4 weeks we're going to be parents. That's not something that just goes away." "I know that. Do you? Because it seems like you think if you just ignore her hard enough she'll disappear. But she won't. She's real. She's coming. And you need to decide right now if you're going to be her father or not." "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is. It's exactly that simple. You either want to be a father or you don't. So which is it, Ryan? Because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep begging you to love your own child. I can't keep hoping you'll wake up one day and magically be the person I thought I married." The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. And then he said it. The thing I'd been dreading. The thing I'd known was coming but had been too afraid to acknowledge. I never wanted to be a father. The words hung in the air. I thought I could do it. I thought I could make myself want it because you wanted it so badly. But I can't. Every time I think about the baby coming, I feel like I'm drowning. Like my entire life is ending and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Tears were streaming down my face. Then why did you let me go through with this? Why didn't you leave months ago? Because I kept hoping the feelings would come. That I'd have some kind of moment where everything clicked and I'd suddenly want to be a dad. But it hasn't happened. And I don't think it's going to. So what now? He looked at me with something like pity. I don't know. You don't know. I repeated, my voice hollow. I'm 8 months pregnant with your daughter and you don't know. Emma, get out. What? Get out. If you don't want to be here, if you don't want this baby, if you're just going to sit here resenting us and making me feel like this is all my fault, then leave. Actually leave. Don't come back. Don't pretend. Just go. You don't mean that. I do. And I did. Because suddenly it was clear. I would rather do this alone than spend one more day with someone who looked at my pregnancy like it was a prison sentence. Pack a bag and go to Mike's or wherever the hell you've been hiding. But I want you out. Tonight. He stared at me for a long moment. I thought he might argue. Might fight. Might finally show some emotion other than resentment. Instead he nodded. Okay. And he went into our bedroom and started packing. I sat there on the couch, hand on my belly, feeling Sophie kick, and tried to understand how this was my life. How I'd gone from being happily married to being 8 months pregnant and alone. Ryan came out 20 minutes later with a duffel bag. I'll come back for more of my stuff later. Fine. He hesitated at the door. Emma, I'm sorry. I really am. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. You let me believe in something that was never real. You let me build a future with someone who was never planning to stay. I wanted to stay. I tried to stay. Trying isn't enough. Our daughter deserves better than someone who has to try to love her. His face crumpled a little at that. I know. Go, Ryan. Just go. And he did. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. I sat there in the silence of our apartment, my apartment now I guess, and finally let myself feel the full weight of what had just happened. My marriage was over. My husband had abandoned me. And in 4 weeks I was going to give birth to a baby whose father didn't want her. I cried until there were no tears left. And then I sat in the dark, feeling Sophie move inside me and made a promise. It's okay, baby girl. We're going to be okay. I promise you we're going to be okay. I didn't know if I believed it. But I said it anyway. ####Chapter 7. The final betrayal. 3 days after Ryan left, I got a text. Not from Ryan. From Mike's wife, Sarah. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. If you need anything, please let me know. And I think you should know Ryan's been seeing someone. I thought you deserved to know. I stared at the text for a full minute, unable to process the words. Seeing someone. My hands were shaking as I typed back. What do you mean? The response came quickly. Mike told me tonight. Ryan's been seeing a woman from his work for the past 2 months. I'm so sorry, Emma. I wanted to tell you sooner, but Mike made me promise not to get involved. But you're 8 months pregnant and you deserve to know the truth. 2 months. He'd been cheating on me for 2 months. While I was 7 months pregnant, struggling to tie my own shoes, crying myself to sleep because my husband wouldn't touch me, he was with someone else. I called him immediately. No answer. Called again. No answer. Texted. Is it true? Have you been seeing someone? The response took 10 minutes. We need to talk. Answer the question. Yes. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to happen. The phone slipped from my hands. I don't remember much of what happened next. My sister told me later that I called her screaming, that she'd never heard me like that before, that she drove over immediately and found me on the bathroom floor, hyperventilating, my blood pressure so high she almost called an ambulance. Breathe, Emma. You have to breathe. Think of the baby. The baby. Sophie. I forced myself to calm down. Forced air into my lungs. Forced my racing heart to slow. He's been cheating on me, I whispered. For months. While I've been pregnant. My sister's face hardened. I'm going to kill him. Get in line. She helped me to the couch. Made me tea I didn't drink. Sat with me while I cried and raged and tried to understand how the man I'd loved for 7 years could betray me like this. When did he become this person? I asked. When did he turn into someone who could do this? Maybe he always was, my sister said quietly. Maybe you just loved him too much to see it. Ryan showed up the next day. I'd barely slept. My eyes were swollen from crying. My body was exhausted. Sophie had been kicking all night like she could feel my distress. He knocked. I didn't answer. He used his key. I'd forgotten he still had it. Emma, please. Let me explain. Explain what? That you've been sleeping with someone else while your pregnant wife waits at home? That you're not just a coward who doesn't want his child. You're also a cheater? What exactly do you want to explain, Ryan? It's not what you think. Don't you dare tell me it's not what I think. You admitted it. You've been seeing someone. He sat down looking miserable. Good. Her name is Jenna. She works in my department. We started talking a few months ago. She was going through a divorce and I was struggling with everything here and we just connected. Connected. I repeated, my voice flat. You connected with her while your wife was home alone, pregnant with your child, wondering why her husband wouldn't touch her. It wasn't supposed to happen. I never meant to fall for her. Fall for her. The words were a knife to the chest. You fell for her? He had the decency to look ashamed. I'm sorry, but yes, I have feelings for her. Do you have feelings for your daughter? The one you're going to meet in less than a month. Silence. That's what I thought. I stood up, my back aching, my heart breaking. Get out. Emma, please. Let me explain. You want to explain? Fine. Explain how you could do this. Explain how you could look at me every day pregnant with your child and then go to her. Explain how you could hold me after the miscarriages while secretly wishing I'd never get pregnant again. Explain how you could promise me forever and mean until it gets hard. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give your daughter the father she deserves. Sorry doesn't undo the fact that you destroyed our family before it even had a chance to begin. What do you want me to do? I want you to leave and never come back. I want you to sign whatever papers I need you to sign so I can raise my daughter without you. I want you out of our lives. You can't keep me from my daughter. Your daughter? 5 minutes ago you were telling me about your girlfriend. You don't get to suddenly claim parental rights now. You made your choice. You chose Jenna. Fine. Have a nice life with her. But Sophie and I don't need you. Emma, be reasonable. Reasonable? Reasonable? You cheated on me while I was pregnant. You told me you never wanted our baby. You've been emotionally checked out for months. And now you want me to be reasonable. My blood pressure was spiking. I could feel it. Everything felt hot and tight and wrong. Emma, your face is really red. Are you okay? Don't you dare act like you care about me now. I do care. Get out. I screamed it. Loud enough that Sophie kicked hard in response. Loud enough that my vision went spotty. And then everything went sideways. The room tilted. My legs gave out. And the last thing I remember before everything went black was Ryan's panicked voice calling my name. I woke up in the hospital. Beeping machines. Fluorescent lights. The smell of antiseptic. And my mother, sitting in the chair next to my bed, her face pale and worried. Mom. Oh, thank God. She grabbed my hand. You're awake. How do you feel? What happened? You collapsed. Ryan called 911. Your blood pressure was dangerously high. They were worried about preeclampsia. My hand went immediately to my belly. Sophie, she's fine. They've been monitoring her. She's strong just like her mama. Relief flooded through me. How long have I been here? 6 hours. They wanted to keep you for observation. Make sure your blood pressure stabilizes. Where's Ryan? I sent him home. Told him if he came near you again I'd call security. Despite everything, I almost smiled. You didn't. I did. Emma, sweetheart, you can't let him stress you like this. The doctor said if your blood pressure doesn't come down, they might have to induce labor early. You're not full term yet. We need to keep you calm. How am I supposed to be calm when my entire life is falling apart? I know it feels impossible right now, but you have to try. For Sophie. She needs you to be strong. I started crying again. Seemed like that's all I did anymore. I don't know how to be strong enough for this, Mom. I don't know how to do this alone. You're not alone. You have me. Your sister. Your dad. Your friends. We're all here. We're going to get you through this. But she won't have a father. What kind of life is that for her? A better life than having a father who doesn't want her. Trust me on this, sweetheart. No father is better than a bad father. They kept me in the hospital for 2 days. My blood pressure slowly came down. Sophie's heartbeat stayed strong, and I had a lot of time to think. About Ryan. About our marriage. About what came next. On the second day, a nurse came in with paperwork. "Your husband brought these by," she said, handing me a manila envelope. "He said you'd know what they were." My hand shook as I opened it. Divorce papers. He'd already filed. Already signed. Just waiting for my signature to make it official. And clipped to the papers was a note. "Emma, I'm sorry for everything. I know I've hurt you in ways I can never take back. I think it's best if we make a clean break. Jenna and I are together now. I'm going to start the life I should have had all along. I'll pay child support, of course, but I think it's better for everyone if I'm not involved. You were right. Sophie deserves better than someone who has to try to love her. I hope someday you can forgive me." Ryan, I read it 3 times, and then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so perfectly, utterly, completely him. He'd found a way to make his abandonment sound noble, to frame his cowardice as a gift, to walk away from his responsibilities while pretending he was doing us a favor. "You okay, hon?" the nurse asked, concerned. "Yeah," I said. And weirdly I was, "Yeah, I'm okay." Because suddenly it was clear. I didn't want him back. I didn't want him to change his mind. I didn't want him anywhere near my daughter. He'd shown me exactly who he was, and I believed him. I signed the papers. Elizabeth Morrison came into the world on October 14th at 3:47 a.m. 2 weeks early but perfectly healthy. 7 pounds 3 ounces. A head full of dark hair and eyes that would eventually turn the same blue-gray as mine. Labor lasted 14 hours. My mother held one hand, my sister held the other. And when they finally placed Sophie on my chest, tiny and perfect and real, I cried harder than I'd ever cried in my life. But this time they were happy tears. "Hi, baby girl," I whispered. "I'm your mama. And I love you so much." She opened her eyes and looked at me. Really looked at me. And in that moment everything shifted. All the pain. All the betrayal. All the fear. It didn't disappear. But it became background noise. Because this tiny human, this perfect, innocent, beautiful little girl, she was my everything now. "She's perfect," my mother said, crying too. "She really is," my sister agreed. "Do you want me to call Ryan?" a nurse asked gently. "No," I said without hesitation. He made his choice. Ryan didn't come to the hospital, didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask about his daughter. My father wanted to hunt him down. My sister wanted to post his picture on social media with "deadbeat dad" in all caps. My friends wanted to key his car. I wanted nothing, because I was too busy falling in love. Sophie was everything. Every little sound she made, every tiny movement, every moment of eye contact felt like a miracle. Yes, I was exhausted. Yes, my body ached. Yes, I had stitches in places I didn't want to think about. But I'd never been happier. On the second day in the hospital, a social worker came to see me. "Ms. Morrison, I understand you're going to be raising Sophie as a single parent?" "That's correct." "And the father is not involved?" "He chose not to be." She made some notes. "I want to make sure you have support. Do you have family nearby?" "My mother is moving in with me for the first few months. My sister lives 10 minutes away. I have a strong support system." "That's good." "And financially, he's agreed to pay child support. And I have a good job to go back to after maternity leave." More notes. "How are you feeling emotionally?" I looked down at Sophie, sleeping peacefully in my arms. "Honestly, I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm scared. But I'm also okay. Better than okay. Because looking at her I realize I don't need him. We don't need him. We're going to be just fine." The social worker smiled. "I believe you." We went home 3 days later. My mother had transformed the apartment, cleaned everything, stocked the fridge, set up the bassinet next to my bed. My sister had bought enough diapers to last until Sophie was 2. "Welcome home, baby girl," I whispered as I carried Sophie over the threshold. That first night was hard. Sophie cried every 2 hours. I was exhausted and sore and had no idea what I was doing. But every time I looked at her, really looked at her, I felt this overwhelming surge of love so powerful it was almost frightening. "We're going to figure this out," I told her at 4 a.m., rocking her while she nursed. "You and me. We're a team now." She looked up at me with those wise little eyes. And I swear she understood. The first month was survival. feeding every 2 to 3 hours, diapers, crying hers and mine, learning what each different cry meant, wondering if I was doing anything right. My mother was a lifesaver. She'd take Sophie for an hour so I could shower or nap. She'd make meals and do laundry and remind me that I was doing a good job, even when it felt like I was failing. "You're a natural," she'd say. "I have no idea what I'm doing." That's being a mother. We're all just winging it and hoping for the best. My sister came over constantly, brought coffee and takeout and adult conversation, held Sophie so I could have both hands free to eat. My friends rallied too, created a meal train, sent care packages, showed up with wine, even though I couldn't drink while nursing, just to sit with me and remind me I wasn't alone. Ryan sent one text in that first month. "How is she?" I didn't respond. At 6 weeks, I took Sophie to her pediatrician appointment. She was thriving, growing perfectly, meeting all her milestones. "She's beautiful," the doctor said. "You're doing a great job, Emma." "Thank you. I'm trying." "Where's Dad today?" The question shouldn't have hurt as much as it did. "He's not in the picture." "I'm sorry to hear that. It must be hard doing this alone." "I'm not alone," I said, thinking of my mother asleep on my couch, exhausted from another night of helping with feedings. Of my sister, who'd rearranged her work schedule so she could watch Sophie while I went to postpartum checkups. Of my friends who showed up without being asked, who loved Sophie like she was theirs too. "No," I said more firmly. "I'm not alone at all." At 3 months, I got a letter from Ryan's lawyer. He wanted to terminate his parental rights. Wanted to legally sever all ties so he could move forward with his life. Would pay child support until it was finalized, then nothing. I should have been angry. Should have fought it. Should have made him take responsibility for the child he'd helped create. Instead, I signed the papers. Because Sophie deserved better than a father who saw her as an obligation. Better than someone who'd spend her whole life making her feel unwanted. She deserved to grow up knowing she was loved completely, even if it was only by me. "Are you sure?" my lawyer asked. "I'm sure. He doesn't deserve her." At 6 months, Sophie laughed for the first time. Really laughed. This deep, belly laugh at a stupid face I was making. And I realized, Ryan was missing this. Was missing every moment of wonder and joy and discovery. He'd never see her first smile. Her first tooth. Her first time sitting up or rolling over or recognizing her own name. He'd chosen to miss all of it. And it was his loss, not ours. At 9 months, I went back to work. It was harder than I expected. Leaving Sophie with a daycare provider, even one I trusted completely, felt like leaving a piece of my heart behind. But I'd also missed my work. Missed my kids, the little patients who looked at me with trust and hope. Missed feeling like myself, not just Sophie's mom. "You're allowed to be both," my therapist reminded me. Mother and person. They're not mutually exclusive. It took time to find the balance. But slowly I did. Work. Sophie. Sleep when possible. Repeat. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was becoming a life I loved. Sophie's first birthday was perfect. Small party at my apartment. Just family and close friends. A smash cake that Sophie destroyed with gleeful abandon, getting frosting everywhere. We sang happy birthday, and she clapped her little hands and giggled. And I realized we'd made it. A whole year. Just the two of us. "I'm so proud of you," my mother said, hugging me tight. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. But I'm glad you didn't have to." That night, after everyone left and Sophie was asleep, I sat in the nursery and looked at pictures from the past year. Newborn Sophie, so tiny I was afraid to hold her wrong. 3-month Sophie finally smiling. 6-month Sophie sitting up on her own. 9-month Sophie pulling herself up on furniture. And now 1-year-old Sophie walking with help, saying "Mama" clear as day. We'd done it. Against all odds, despite everything, we'd built a life. And we were happy. Sophie is 3 now. Smart, funny, stubborn, and so full of joy it's almost overwhelming. She has my eyes and my laugh. She has Ryan's dimples, the only part of him I can see in her, and even that doesn't hurt anymore. She asks about her father sometimes. Why don't I have a daddy? It's the question I've been dreading since she was born. I always tell her the truth, just in age-appropriate ways. Some families have a mommy and a daddy. Some have 2 mommies or 2 daddies. Some have a mommy and a grandma and an auntie who love them very much. We're that kind of family. But where is my daddy? Your daddy wasn't ready to be a daddy. But that's okay because you have so many people who love you. And that's what really matters. She thinks about this. Do you love me? More than anything in the entire world? Then that's enough. And it is. I ran into Ryan once about 6 months ago. At a grocery store. He was with Jenna, pretty young, no visible baggage. They were laughing about something, looking at avocados like they didn't have a care in the world. Sophie was with me in the cart, singing a song from her favorite show. Ryan saw me. Our eyes met. I saw him look at Sophie. Really look at her. Saw the moment of recognition, the dimples, the dark hair. Saw the flash of regret. He started to approach. I turned my cart and walked the other direction. Mama, why did we go this way? Sophie asked. Because I forgot something, baby. I didn't look back. I'm dating now. Slowly, carefully. My mother watches Sophie once a week so I can have adult time, as she calls it. I've gone on a few dates. Most don't go anywhere. I'm gun-shy about trusting people, about believing they mean what they say. But I'm trying. Because I want Sophie to see that just because one person hurt us doesn't mean we stop trying. Doesn't mean we close ourselves off to possibility. I want her to grow up brave, open, willing to love even when love is scary. And the only way she'll learn that is if she sees me do it first. Last week Sophie asked me, Mama, are you happy? We were at the park. She was on the swings wanting to go higher, higher. Yes, baby. I'm very happy. Why? Because I have you. What if you didn't have me? The question stopped me cold. Because I couldn't imagine it anymore. Couldn't imagine my life without her in it. All the pain I went through to get here, the betrayal, the abandonment, the fear, the exhaustion, it all led to her. And I wouldn't change a single second if it meant she wouldn't exist. Then I'd be very sad. I told her honestly. Because you're the best thing that ever happened to me. She grinned. Push me higher. And I did. If you told me 4 years ago that I'd be here, single mom raising a toddler alone, happy, I wouldn't have believed you. 4 years ago I thought I needed Ryan. Thought I needed a partner, a husband, a father for my child. I was wrong. What I needed was to believe in myself. To discover that I'm stronger than I ever imagined. To learn that love doesn't always come in the package you expect. To understand that being alone and being lonely are two very different things. Ryan did me a favor by leaving, though he'll never know it. He freed me from a marriage built on lies. He freed Sophie from growing up with a father who resented her existence. He freed us both to build something better. And we did. My daughter will grow up knowing she was wanted. Desperately, completely, unconditionally wanted. She'll grow up watching her mother work hard, chase dreams, refuse to settle for less than she deserves. She'll grow up knowing that family isn't about biology. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses you every single day. And she'll grow up knowing that even when the world feels like it's ending, even when the person you trusted most betrays you, even when you're 8 months pregnant and alone, you survive. More than survive. You thrive. There's a photo on my fridge. Me and Sophie taken last week. We're both laughing at something ridiculous, probably one of her many silly jokes. In the picture you can see our apartment behind us. Small but cozy. Filled with toys and books and finger paintings on the fridge. You can see the life we've built. Just the two of us. And it's beautiful. Every time I look at that picture I think about the woman I was when Ryan left. Broken. Terrified. Convinced she couldn't do this alone. And I think about the woman I am now. Strong. Confident. Absolutely certain she can do anything. That woman didn't exist before Sophie. Ryan's abandonment didn't destroy me. It created me. And for that, only that, I'm grateful. To everyone listening who's been abandoned, betrayed, left to figure it out alone. You will survive this. It won't feel like it at first. The first days, weeks, months will be brutal. You'll wonder how you'll make it through. But you will. And on the other side, you'll discover something incredible. You were never as weak as you thought. You were never as dependent as they made you feel. You were never less than enough. You were always capable of this strength. You just needed a reason to find it. My reason was Sophie. Your reason might be your kids, your dreams, your future, yourself. Whatever it is, hold on to it. Because the person who left you didn't take your strength with them. They just revealed it. And once you see what you're capable of, once you understand the power you've always had, nobody can ever make you feel powerless again. I was 8 months pregnant when my husband told me he never wanted kids. When he left us. When he chose someone else. It was the worst moment of my life. And it was the beginning of the best chapter. Because it was the moment I stopped waiting for someone to choose me. And chose myself instead. I'm Emma. And I was 8 months pregnant when my husband left me for another woman. But I'm still here. Sophie's still here. And we're not just surviving, we're thriving.